many people that are with their family, but their family's not there. So what can you do right now? Because some of you have brain decline and your brain has been degenerating, especially if you wore those masks during COVID. Because you know when I did my COVID talk, you talked about how the mask, you were breathing in that carbon dioxide. You're supposed to breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. But if you're breathing out the carbon dioxide, and that stops oxygen to your brain. So literally you had those masks on for years. It's already started to decline in your body. Okay? So if you've been having brain fog, you've been having memory issues, you've just been tired and fatigued, your cells don't have your energy, and your brain is what's the healer. So when your brain starts to shrink from your diet, when it starts to shrink from your lifestyle, that is what causes these neurodegenerative diseases. And I want to make sure that none of the people in this room get dementia, Parkinson's, are just out of your mind, okay? You know, so that's what we want to make sure that we're doing, okay? So we look right here, the real estate industry right now for memory care facilities, they said that they're building it with you in mind. That you're not going to have memory and they need, your family already don't talk to you. Who's going to take care of you? Dementia is an ugly disease when your child doesn't know your name. Your mother doesn't know your name. So we have to make sure that we're looking at 78 million baby boomers, okay? 14 million of the baby boomers, they're going to lose their memory. They're going to need those facilities. And so you just think about what we're doing with the technology in our ear, the blue screens, all of these different things. Our generations after that is going to be even worse because the baby boomers don't really use computers that much. They don't have all the Wi-Fi and all the things that we do that degenerates our brain. So we have to do even more. Okay? So when we talk about dementia, you know, I was just thinking about my Uncle Prince. And I was talking to my aunt today just to get the feeling of what happens. Because a lot of times she can't come to the family functions anymore. And I was like, Aunt Verna, like, how is it that you are dealing with your husband? I said, does he remember anniversaries? She said, not really, birthdays. And I can remember just seeing him, like this person used to sneak me chocolate and all these different things. It was just, you know, so present. And then when I come to the house and I'll go in there and speak to him, and he's sitting in a dark room in a closet. And you know, think about when you start to have dementia, you start to lose your mind, and like, you know, there was a trail of chicken, all of the broth was on the floor, he didn't know. Or there was a white chair in the kitchen, he thought it was the toilet, it wasn't. And then paper towel in the toilet. Different things that you don't even think about. I saw my grandmother decline. And you know, they told her that she had a UTI that went to her brain. And she could barely know my name. She's 102, sorry. But it wasn't until she got into the nursing home and they would not take care of her. You don't die from a UTI. But the UTI stayed there so long that she got dementia in her brain. I remember looking through this glass, through this wall at the nursing home. It's a metal screen. I could kind of see little pictures of her. She was giving up. This is the torment that happens when we don't have our health. And what you don't know about Alzheimer's, dementia, they said that's diabetes type 3. That's your lifestyle, that you've eaten so much of sugar that it starts to destroy your brain. And it starts to shrink your brain. So we're going to talk about the shrinking diet, the shrinking brain diet that's destroying your brain right now. And we want to make sure that the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years are strong. We want to make sure. Who in here uses Benadryl? Tell the truth. I know it's Dr. Krystal, you're not going to tell me the truth. Yes, all right? So, what about, I'm going to give my kids this Benadryl to put them to sleep, right? I'm going to do this for my allergy. My best friend was like, oh, girl, I have to take that Benadryl. I said, oh, you don't want to hear that? I said, let me send you this slide. Because I'm going to talk about this today. That 54% increase in dementia which means it's shrinking your brain when you use Benadryl. How many years have you been using it? So no more Benadryl to get to sleep. Use red light, get your adjustments, different things like that, okay? And your grip strength, we can do a grip strength test next week to see if you are, when we look at your percentage, if you're in the lower percentile, when we're talking about grip strength, your brain is deteriorating. And you're over here, if you're in the 50s when we do your test, brain is deteriorating, 70% chance of getting dementia. So how strong is your grip? How strong is are you exercising? Because exercising actually stops your chances of getting into dementia. So we'll be talking about that. Just using the 5 essentials. That's what we want to do to make sure that we're strong. Okay, so I was talking to Dr. Shoemaker. He's one of Max Living doctors, and he did the gene test. He did the APOE4 gene, and he had the gene for that. So a lot of you who's taking genes, like, I want to see what I'm supposed to get. It doesn't mean that you're going to get that. It just means that if you have a preloaded gun and you do what your mom did, you do what your dad did, that gene will be expressed. They showed that he had a 33% chance of getting Alzheimer's due to the gene that he has. So when we can do that gene testing, we have gene testing in here so you can do it. But the thing is that don't think that that's what I'm going to get. Because a lot of people say, oh, my genes show that. It's not your genes. There's something called epigenetics. That means that if you live a different lifestyle, then you can have a preloaded gun, but you never pull the trigger. So we want to make sure that you know that you're not your genes. Saying, I'm not my genes. Okay, you're not your genes. Now, you have a sensitivity. So if you do these things, you will say this running through your family will run towards you. We want it to run away from you. We want to make sure that you're getting the healing that you need, and so that you can actually, their epigenetics means that when you do the 5 essentials, everybody know what the 5 essentials are. We teach 5 essentials here. What are the essentials that we teach? Y'all know? Maximizing the mind, okay? We talk about mental health, okay? We talk about the nervous system, making sure that your nerves, your brain is getting the proper signal to the organ to tell it what to do. And how do we do that? By getting a what? Adjustment. Oh, thank you. We get an adjustment to free the nerves so that they can talk to the organs. It can repair the organs so that it can keep it running. Not just to repair it so it stays running good. It's like if you miss 12 oil changes or you miss 12 misalignments in your car. You think that car's going to run good? And a lot of times you don't even know. It's just scheduled timing that you go to keep it done. You're like, oh, why do you need this alignment? It's because you used it. For your body, you using your body. You have so much of working out and stress and sleep and all these different things that you do. You don't think that it's going to be misaligned? Yes, so you got to do that so you can have the life of car. We want to make sure that 57 Chevy and 2026 or 2050 is still running like it's new, okay? We have Miss May here, I know I always put her on it, but she's 103 and she's walking around, she's doing good, okay? Still can cook for herself when she wants to. That's what we want. And she got a mind. Her mind is strong. But she's here learning right now, so the next 20 years, she don't have to have no dementia and Alzheimer's, okay? So that's what we want, all right? So, you're in good company, all right? So what can we do? The 5 essentials to the rescue. Proper food nutrition, okay? Making sure that you do eat wild-caught salmon. Making sure that if you are eating red meat, that it is grass-fed and grass-finished. A lot of times they want to finish it with grain, but that's sugar. And we just talked about sugar going to the brain, so that excess of sugar, it starts to dump into your cells, and it causes pancreas damage, it causes brain damage, all these different things, and it causes cancer, okay? So we want to remove that. We want to do grass-fed cheeses, and we want to do that. But I just really say to try to avoid dairy as much as possible. But when you are, got to do bad salons, okay? And making sure we eat lean vegetables. You know, we're using cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and different things like that. Using the spinach so you can alkalize your body and having an alkaline diet. But, our 5 Essentials book, you have the book, Dr. Rachel. It has all of the different things that you need. Talking about the 5 essentials so that you can break it down. Make sure you get this book, y'all. It has the recipes. It has all the things you need to do, the cleaning products that you need to do, changing out all of the toxins, all the 5 essentials, how to work out, all those different things. These are essentials that you need to do. Make sure you have the book so that you know the food plan, the shopping guide, how to detox, and get everything moving in the right direction, okay? But yeah, so your exercise can decrease Alzheimer's by 45%. So just start moving. Motion is life. So keep your brain active. That's why I tell my mom, I was like, I don't want you to retire. I don't want you to retire. I mean, you can retire from something that's stressing you out, but go do something, okay? And you can do something, you know, I know my mom needs to move. I have to say, well, as soon as she retired, she started having aches, pains, her blood pressure. She never went to hospital. Hospital in the middle of the night. I said, because you're not moving. You're sitting there making treats and all this kind of stuff. You're avoiding your health. You need to take this to the next level. Make sure you do your adjustments. Make sure you're doing your exercise. Make sure you stay fit. So keep moving. I don't care how old you are. You're still young. Okay? We have 120 years in our good years in our lifespan. We want to keep going from there. So make sure you keep your brain moving, keep it active so that you can keep those things moving right. And then a low inflammation diet. So just eating the Max Living Advanced and Core plans, look in the book, and we've taught it to you, that will decrease your chances of dementia by 35%. Low inflammation diet. What are some things that cause inflammation into the brain? What are some foods? Sugar. Carbs. Sugar. What's that, doctor? You trying to cheat, Dr. Rachel? Yeah, bad fats. Bad fats. What's some bad fats? Al, what's some bad fats, Al?
Sugar.
Sugar is one of the, so there's three dangers. There's the sugars, the bad fats, and the toxins. So that's why you got to choose organic. And we're going to be talking about the dangers of not choosing organic. Because like you're like, I don't need to choose organic. Does it really make that difference? I'm going to show you that it makes a difference. Okay? Because they are putting stuff on the crops. They're putting these pesticides in and they will reside in our organs and they cause disease. Canola oil, that's a rancid oil. It's a bad oil made in Canada. It's damaging to the body. Okay? Olive oil is a bad oil when you cook it at high temperatures. You heat it up, it becomes denatured. It needs to be cooked at it needs to be used at a low temperature, so like using salads. Okay? So we want to use grass-fed, different things like that. We got to think about what the animal may eat, or just use more plant-based, plant-based foods, different things like that. That's what we want to do. And then who's sleeping? How many hours of sleep do you get? 3, 4, 5? Poor sleep will increase your chances of dementia up to 70%. So if you're not sleeping through the night, dementia. Hey, Erica. See, you know your name. I want to make sure you know your name. Okay? So get you some sleep. All right? So the top 5 brain busters, okay? So brain shrinking diet, so we talked about that, the inflammatory foods, fire on your brain. When you eat these fried foods, Chick-fil-A, who's Chick-fil-A line? Oh, Krystal Christian. Don't go through the line. You'll be seeing the Lord really soon if you keep going, okay? So, so the bad oils, those trans oils, and so they're using the oil and they put that oil, use that hydrogenated oil all day long, that causes damage to the body. Cholesterol drugs, statins. Do you know that cholesterol drugs actually shrinks your brain and cause damage? Does not stop heart disease. That's why I want to do my heart disease class with you so that you can know. But yes, so cholesterol lowering drugs actually causes the brain to shrink. Your hormones are made by cholesterol. Your hormones are made by cholesterol. So if you lower that, guess what? The same company that makes the lower cholesterol, they make the ones for the prostate issues, okay? Because they notice you can't make the hormones, and guess what? They're making all the drugs so that you can stay sick. And guess who made the number 200 is the high one? Who made that? Okay? Who made that was the drug companies. So they keep lowering the number because they get another few million people on their drug. And then you're wondering why you're having the estrogen problems, the testosterone problems, but it's also shrinking your brain. Okay, so we'll talk about that. The glyphosate. So what is that? It is a chemical that is sprayed on your organic food, or non-organic food. It shrinks the brain. There's a correlation with Alzheimer's going up. When they started adding that, it's a direct correlation. So we need to make sure that we're using organic and removing those things, okay? Stress shrinks your brain. Cortisol levels. Your cortisol levels high belly fat, shrinking your brain. Causing dementia. Stress causes dementia. So we're going to be talking about that. And then sleep apnea. You stop breathing while you're sleeping. Some of you are doing that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yes. So then we talk about the brain shrinking diet. So you know the standard American diet, they just flipped it. Okay? So they were doing insulin level foods and inflammatory foods was the base of our foods, what they told us to eat. And that's why everybody's getting heart disease and cancer and sugar, you know, and diabetes. So now they flipped it. So we want to make sure that at the base, instead of all of these carbs, we have vegetables and proteins. That's what you need to be eating. So RFK, he's really did a good job with that. Don't be so political that you end up dying, that you don't want to follow the plan. There's a lot of stuff that's great in there. So just make sure that you are following what we need to do to make sure our body's healthy. We talk about the vaccines. Okay, well the vaccines actually cause DNA damage. In September, we're going to go through that. And if you got that vaccine in 2020, it's still affecting you today because it winds into your DNA. And it causes a spike protein, and it continues to cause micro blood clots. And that's why so many people are having uncontrolled blood clots and uncontrolled blood pressure issues and strokes out of the blue. Kids having strokes in their 20s. And it's because of that. So you got to make sure that you're taking NAC to dissolve those micro blood clots, okay? And you know, nattokinase is another one to stop the spike proteins, to stop the micro blood clots. And it also helps with blood pressure, different things like that. So a lot of times if somebody's been on a shot and their blood pressure's up, nattokinase, I'm putting that on there. But, you know, blood clots, NAC. That was just something to add. All right? So when we're at the grocery store, we want to make sure we're eating healthier food. We're going to have a 5 Essentials equipping class. Make sure you come and learn. When we do the grocery store, we go to food. And so you can learn what some of these foods. But in the middle, all the processed foods, ultra-processed chemicals. You need to eat in the live section, okay? So making sure you're doing grass-fed cheeses, vegetables, fruit, unprocessed foods. You know, make sure it's frozen, that you're using like organic vegetables, organic fruits and stuff for your proteins. You know, all that's in the book so we can get you what you need to do. We need to do pasture-raised eggs, you know. So meaning that it was able to run through the pasture, not cage-free. Cage-free is a very bottom barrel egg that we want. We want the pasture-raised. We want the organic and pasture-raised eggs when we choose that. So organic and pasture-raised, meaning that they didn't put the chemicals on it, and that it was in the pasture, and then they gave them the right diet. So that way you have the healthiest egg, okay? To help our brain stay strong. So we want to make sure that you are on the core plan or the advanced plan. Advanced plan is when you need advanced healing. You want to regulate those blood sugars. You want to lose weight rapidly. You want to, and it's more like a protein-based diet, okay? So we're using vegetables, fruits, and basically more proteins, but eliminating those sugars and inflammatory foods. It's an anti-inflammatory diet. So the Mediterranean diet, wild fish, broccoli, spinach, different things like that. Using healthy oils, avocado oil, coconut oil. We want to focus on those things. And that's what's going to correct your lipids, that corrects your blood pressure, inflammation, but also your brain, keeping your brain nice and strong. Okay, so we talk about the brain boosters. Now these are the things that's going to help you. Omegas, all right? Did you have that saran wrap, Dr. Rachel? Okay, so we talk about omegas. Omegas are going to, so a lot of you going to Costco to get the omegas. Guess what? That DHA and EPA there, you're not getting the recommended. It's made of 1% of the ingredient. And just because you're getting a cheaper supplement, it's not working for you. The only one that's going to work for you is the one that works. Okay, so if you don't see the changes in your health and the changes in your body, you're saving maybe $10, but guess what? You're not getting results in your health. Avocados. How many of you are eating avocados? Okay, very good. Very good for the uterus. Okay, it's shaped like the uterus. We want it good for the hormones. It's shaped like the, vas deferens. So all those different things, very good for your hormones. So we want to do that, but very good for the brain, okay? Doing walnuts. Walnut is actually shaped like a brain. It's really good for your brain. So you kind of really look, God was really smart with how he made like certain fruits so you can know. So walnuts and nuts are gonna really be berries, antioxidants, really helping the brain. These are the things you need to focus on for brain food, for health, for just in general. If you want to reset your body, start taking nuts, start taking the berries, taking the avocados, making sure you do your omegas, because you have 2 layers of cells. In between that layer of cells, a layer of fat. So you want to make sure that the cell, that fat is there for detoxification, for breathing, so the cells can breathe. When you come in and you have a sugar, a bad fat, or a toxin, it causes those cells to become stuck together, and And now the brain can't work. You start getting brain fog. You start getting inflammation. You can't remember. You're coming this way. You're all over the place because you don't have the fats. Your brain is made of 70% fat. So you must have your water. You must have your fat for your brain to work. A lot of times you're having the depression. You know, you just take a handful of walnuts. It'll get rid of depression. Okay, cashews too. Okay, these are things are good fats for the brain. Start having your nuts will really help your mindset, help your brain, help get the brain what it needs, which is made of fats. Is going to help you. And especially if you're on cholesterol lowering drugs, it actually starts to shrink the brain. And you don't want a light brain, you want a dense, thick brain, okay? Because that's where all the nutrients are. When it starts to get shrink, and that's when you start to lose your mind. That's when you start to, the prefrontal cortex, this is where you, the front of your brain is the prefrontal cortex. This is where you do your analyzation. And then the back is for your equilibrium, your balance, okay? And you have your limbic system for your brain, is for your excitement, but we want to make sure that all of those things are flowing and functioning. So we get the signal from the brain with the adjustment, but you have to have your water. If you're dehydrated, you're going to shrink your brain. So you're not going to be remembering stuff. And if you're already in your 20s and your 30s and you're forgetting, you're on your way. It's already a clear sign that your brain is shutting down. So we want to make sure that that's not happening. Ashwagandha, what does that do? What's that herb for?
It helps your mood.
It helps your mood. What else? Calm you down. But it also is an adaptogen. You want to use adaptogens like ashwagandha and rhodiola. Have you heard of those things? They help you adapt to stress. And so when your brain gets stressed, it starts to shut down. That leads to cortisol levels going up. Cortisol level is going to go to your belly fat, and it's going to go to your brain, and it's going to cause damage. And when you get a cortisol brain, that's when you start to have fatigue. You become sick. But when you start to take the rhodiola, it stops the anti-fatigue. It stops that. That's in our adrenal balance. So hopefully you've been taking adrenal balance, because that's going to balance out your adrenals, stop the stress hormones. And guess what? It decreases belly fat by 25%. So you just start dropping weight, just like Claire. You know, Claire just starts dropping weight. It's like, that person, I lost another 10 pounds today. I'm like, that's great. It didn't even do anything. Is this great? Yes. Okay. So we love that. And then the berries and the nuts. Those are going to be brain foods. Okay. So vitamin D. Who takes vitamin D? I bet everybody. Let's do the test. Let's see if you need to take vitamin D3. Put your fingers up, 2 fingers up. And then you want to come right over here. Do you feel a pulse? That means you're alive. That means you need to take vitamin D3. Okay? That's your test. If you still have the house there, you need to be on D3. Why? Because it causes cellular function. But this is some of the things. It stops dementia. Okay? So it stops dementia. So also, what happens is that you get calcium built up in your brain. And so that calcium buildup starts with the cerebral spinal fluid, and it's supposed to be flushed out. But when you're not getting enough sleep, when you're not getting into deep sleep, that calcium builds up and it starts to cause dementia and deposits into your brain, and that's what leads to the dementia. Vitamin D3 cuts that. And what's another thing that vitamin D3 is good for? Cancer. Also cellular repair. Also stops sickness. It slows down it helps your cells repair. So, you know, when I'm ever having expressing symptoms, because I'm never sick, I might express some symptoms. It's just my body telling me, if it starts to slow me down, and like, okay, I need to double up on my adjustments, double up on my sleep, and double up on my, whatever supplements. So I just dump in my body with vitamin D3. Any type of infection, dump in my body with D3. Okay, if you have an ear infection, dump in your body with D3. It's gonna stop cellular disease in your body. It stops the disease process from replicating. But also it supports your brain health. And so that's what we want to do. So very important, very essential. And also helps your immune system stay strong. So one of the patients was saying, well, what do I do for shingles? What do I do for shingles? Should I take that vaccine? I was like, do you think you should take that vaccine? Because you're gonna actually insert, they got an HIV vaccine right now too. They want to inject it in you so you can get the virus, and hopefully, you'll be immune. Are you gonna sign up for the HIV vaccine? Okay. Well, I'm not signing up for the herpes vaccine, the shingles vaccine, none of these things. But you know what? When you took the COVID one, they had strands of HIV in there. Did they tell you that in the COVID vaccine? Go and look it up. HIV strand. All right? Syphilis was in there. up. And why? We haven't really seen that. But guess what? It's because you put the vaccine in your body. So what we need to do to stop that, to make our body strong, we want to make sure that we get the vitamin D3, which is going to support you and help your system stay strong for prevention. Keep your D3 levels up. Keep your omegas up. This is how you keep your body strong. Do your juicing, do your turmeric. All these different things is going to make sure that your body is healthy, okay? And so, we want to make sure that you have brain survival. We want to make sure your brain is survival. What'd you say, Catherine?
I have a couple questions. With that vitamin D3, do you have any K2?
Vitamin D3 with K2, that just helps it absorb it, but you just want to just make sure you have a whole food vitamin D3, okay? So yeah, whole food. Probiotics, our K2 will help you absorb. So if you have one, I always have the probiotic in it, or you have one with K2, whichever one, those are the ones that's going to help you too. Okay, so stress shrinks your brain. Who's there stress? It's shrinking your brain. Okay, so we want to make sure that you decrease your stress. What's a good way to decrease stress? Anybody try the red light? Yes, it decreases your stress. The adjustment, it will actually de-stress you, okay? But then doing the brain boosters that we talked about, it doesn't take rocket science to get, but what's the secret? It's just doing the basic things that you refuse to do consistently. Drinking the water, taking the omegas, taking the nuts, taking the berries, doing these things so that your body can be healthy, and you can reverse these diseases they told you to live with, okay? So we want to make sure that that body is strong, all right? And then be mindful. A lot of us, I see my patients coming in, they're like, I got my earphones on, all these different things, I'm just plugging out from the world, I'm just going in, but you're not absorbing. You need to absorb your environment, okay? Because we're plugging in, and that's just stressing us out. You're listening to, these crazy people that's on these podcasts, and guess what? They're actually not deregulating your nervous system. They're actually, making your nervous system go haywire. And so that's going to overstress your brain and cause your cortisol levels to go up. And I can be guilty of it, because I love to do a lot of multitasking at one time and stress myself out. And I'm just in the season of not doing that. I'm in the season of de-stressing and making sure my life is simple. As Dr. Rachel keeps saying, girl, what are you doing? How do you do all this? And I'm just, it's just what I've always done, But also, I just realized as I started to, I could see that the cortisol was coming out of my face, coming out of my belly, because it was stress. It wasn't that I was eating a lot, with so much stress. And so, increasing the adjustments, making sure I put a lot more fun in my schedule now. Before I wasn't. I was just stressed out. You want to see me traveling, doing all these things. I just wanted to just add that. I could just see that my energy is where it needs to be. My mindset, my prayer time, and then just starting my morning time out with a routine. Get up at 5 a.m. and going through, what are my non-negotiables for today? God, having that time, sitting with God with that prayer time and just studying and lingering in that word. Like, that has been important for me as well. And then writing out, these are the things that I thought by now I would have these. And I don't have these because of this. And these are the things I'm going to do today to change that. And I do that morning so that I can see and be looking at what I'm telling myself. And it's really changing a lot of the things that I struggle with. So I can give you my sheet of like the questions, and this is one of the things, the drills we did at boot camp too. So it's been very beneficial to just have that and just decrease that stress and just kind of like, okay, this is where I focus, this is where I'm going. And those are things that can help your brain to stop dementia. We gotta decrease that stress, okay? And gratitude. And at the end, my last three, what's the 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for today? I'm grateful to be able to be here to do this for you guys. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that God keeps, loving me and choosing me every single day. Like, what are you grateful for? We have so many things to be grateful for. And when you have grateful, that opens up your brain, opens up your mind to help to decrease that so that you can have. These are simple things, but are you doing them? Okay? All right. And then self-compassion. Are you gentle on yourself? Because if your roommate was coming, you had a roommate, Roberto, he would just come in every day and just be like, you know what, you just suck. Like, what are you doing? You just got stuff everywhere. You're just not eating, you're not prioritizing your life. Listen, look at you. You just look terrible. But this is what we're telling ourselves in the mirror every single day, Janine. You would kick that roommate out, right? But we're not kicking ourselves out when you're saying these ugly things about you. Listen, just look at you. You just suck. Like, look at you. How'd you let this happen to your life? What are you going to do about it? how do you talk to yourself? There was a study that showed that if, that they talk positive to the flower and talk negative to the flower, the one that was talked negative died 2-3 times earlier. And the flower that talked positive actually bloomed. So are you blooming or are you dying by your words? Because life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you gotta choose life. And you gotta speak over your mind. I have full life in my body. My brain is working the way God intended. I thank you that all my organs are regenerating and repairing right now. I thank you that sickness and disease can't come in my body. I thank you that I am loved and cared for. I thank you that I'm a prize. I'm thankful that, that I have energy in my body. I'm thankful for a long life and longevity. I thank you that nothing can stop me. Just keep going. Those words, as you speak over your life and over your body, you will have life and you will not have death. And my brain will be healthy and I will have long life. Because you can have whatever you think you can have, Claire. Is if you're saying that, you're speaking that over you. It's the power of attraction. Okay? So, self-compassion for that. That's going to be able to help us. The adrenal fatigue. Okay? Are you under attack? Is your adrenals under attack? It's the thing that's right by your kidneys, sitting right on top of it. Okay? But it's responsible for cortisol and stress. Yes, Julia.
Can you pause right there
for
a second? Just going back. You deserve a boom shakalaka for that speech that you just gave. That was phenomenal. That's great about speaking positivity over your life, and proclaiming it and just holding yourself accountable for it. Bravo, Dr.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Yes, well, we have to, and that's one of the things that you have to do consistently, because you can look at your life and say everything is falling apart. My family is sick. My money is drying up. I lost my job. And you will start to get way more of that. Or you can focus on, thank God my son has breath in his lungs. Thank God we found a new way. Just start thinking about the positive things so that you can have that. Because the enemy knows, but God knows better. So speak so that you can have it. Who are you speaking to? You can speak to the fool or you can speak to the king.
Amen.
Okay? So we speak to the king so that the king can actually say, knock on the door and the door shall be answered. Because that's when we open up and we activate. The Lord don't just, he gives us blessings throughout the way, but he loves us to activate, to speak it, to say those things, and to activate and walk in and trust him. And then everything starts to go. So I'm not talking gloom and doom, but because you also have an adversary. You also have a God that can do all those things, but we have to learn that these are some of the things that he's called us to do to have health in our body. It's the word, the truth or the lie. Because, if you speak those things, you can have it. The word still is true. So my believers in the room, okay? So, adrenal fatigue, a frequent sickness. You're craving salt, unexplained weight gain, depression, anxiety, morning fatigue, irritability, trouble sleeping, brain fog, tired after working out, overly emotional. This is signs that your adrenals are falling asleep in Dr. Krystal's class. This is a sign you have adrenal fatigue. Sorry, Greg. So we gotta lower the cortisol. The cortisol level, we want those adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha that decrease your stress levels by 30% just by taking it. Ashwagandha is gonna calm you down. It's like that woosah, okay? And rhodiola as well. So our adrenal balance has that, but you need to be taking your vitamin B complex. Well, I know that you guys have the women and the men's bundle, the essentials, the women essentials and the men essentials. That B complex in there for a reason, because it helps with the metabolism, helps the brain function, it helps to decrease the stress and all that. So that just helps your body work even better when you're taking your chronic stress is going to deplete your B complex. So you got to take that if you're under stress because it balances out. And then you take the ashwagandha, the rhodiola, that's going to make sure that you're sleeping through the night, you have energy, you're well rested, you're not craving the aches and pains. That's the cortisol starts to cause pain in your body. So we want to make sure that that's going away, okay? So we also want to make sure that you have clarity. So we have a new supplement that helps your memory, okay? So if you want to make sure your memory is going good and you get rid of the brain fog, you have that clarity. Ashwagandha is also, it has turmeric and ginger too, so it can stop inflammation. But this is really has so many different things for your focus, your procrastination, and your memory, okay? So taking that is going to really be able to take you and get you to that next level and get into that root cause, all right? We talk about Monsanto, that's the glyphosate, okay? So Monsanto causes that GMO, all the chemicals in your body, but it is destroying our cells. And so food and wine, because there was an article that they put out saying that glyphosate is okay, you can have it in small moderation, but we think about this accumulation, but so they were paid out $280 billion to some people that was working at the glyphosate and making it. Those families got cancer. And it wasn't just them. Many people got cancer working with that. And they found out that they caused cancer. They had to pay those people out. So, serious ethical concerns, but the powers that be is not going to come back and tell them. Just like right now, you're finding out, COVID was killing people. That, they put it in the vaccine for the kids. Okay, so if you got your kids, when you have a newborn baby, they were putting the COVID in there. So they're supposed to, since our KDs took that out, but just think about the babies that started having heart attacks and strokes because of it. And they were just shoving it over but they never apologized and said, hey, we killed all these people from telling you that you needed to take COVID. You lost your job, you were pushed into it, and they're just like, well, we made a mistake. After millions of people have lost their life. So, we gotta be smart and know that we gotta put in our health. So, you go and see now, look here. So, this is showing from the deaths from senile and dementia, and then autism and glyphosate. So as they started to add the glyphosate, the dementia, both of those things started to rise, even the autism and the going senile. Okay, so we have to look at these things and start choosing organic and changing these chemicals out of our body. It matters. And then in this study, buying organic matters. So they were looking at the poison for glyphosate, so they checked the organic. So they found out in hummus that the organic had 65 levels of glyphosate, but the non had 296. Oatmeal breakfast cereal, non-detected, but 711. Okay, we look at the snack bars. Y'all like the snack bars, but y'all not looking for the GMO label. It doesn't really matter, Dr. Krystal. You just eat it. No, it's poison. 318 glyphosate. And then just think about you, it's eating all these things all day that's not organic. It resides in the liver and the kidneys. Granola bars, 208 levels of that. So we gotta make sure we're doing something different. We also gotta make sure that we talk about cholesterol. We gotta think about what cholesterol is. They talk about the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol, but we're talking about the total cholesterol. And it's Dr. Sinatra. I want you to look up his information on what he's talking about. I can't remember his first name. But Dr. Sinatra, he's a cardiologist that he deals with metabolic cardiovascular disorders. And so with this, he was able to show you that we do not want to continue to use these cholesterol-lowering drugs because they are actually causing heart disease issues. And so we want to make sure that you get that because cholesterol is needed to make your hormones. If you don't have cholesterol, you can't make your hormones. That's what's made in the liver. So it starts to damage that, okay? And so it's also used to make bile acids and vitamin D in your body. So if you're lowering your cholesterol, you cannot, now we don't want it to be 350, 400, all those types of things, but 200 is not a bad level, is what I want you to know. But what we want to do is not focus on that. We want to focus on giving our body the foods it needs so that it can regulate, our heart can be healthy. And this is what he's a cardiologist that he talks about, okay? So, to make estrogen, testosterone, cortisone, your body needs cholesterol to do it, okay? So, when you take a statin, it actually inhibits the enzyme for cholesterol, which is CoQ10. So if your body's not making CoQ10, which is a carrier to take oxygen to your brain and your tissues, and your heart doesn't have the carrier it needs to make the heart work, this is going to cause damage, okay? So with that, the liver can no longer make cholesterol, so it stops making the CoQ10. So if you're on a cholesterol lowering drug, then at the least you have to make sure you're on the CoQ10 because your body's not using this enzyme, a carrier. The car that takes oxygen, the coenzyme is the car that takes you places. So this one is taking oxygen to your brain and taking oxygen to your heart to repair it. But you took the cholesterol lowering drug, now your liver is not working. It is missing the step it needs to do to make your hormones, to make CoQ10, to make cortisol levels, to make vitamin D3, and now you're deficient. Okay? So your brain is made of 60% of cholesterol. So when you lower that, it causes the brain and the nerve tissues to become deteriorated. i.e. starts to shrink your brain due to cholesterol lowering drugs. So this causes decrease in serotonin, and so if you don't have serotonin, you're going to have depression. So these are the things that happen. So CoQ10 is going to transfer that oxygen, so when you inhibit it, you stop the basic chemicals that you need to make your brain and nervous system work. Okay? So that's what we need to do. So what happens is that when you take a statin, it causes dementia. It's been linked to cause dementia. But what happens is, and a lot of people say, well, I've been taking cholesterol drugs for years and I don't have dementia. You don't have the side effect of dementia yet, but you're blocking, you have a co-effect because by taking that drug, you're actually stopping acetylcholine, which is a precursor to make your brain work, which triggers dementia. So that is what we need to do, that you are blocking precursors that make your brain work and repair itself and run, and you're taking something that's causing damage down the line. So you shouldn't have to take a drug for the rest of your life. If you're on a drug, you need to see, what was my body? You can take a drug to save your life. Well, are you supposed to be on it for 20, 30 years when you know that there's side effects and causing these type of problems? You're killing yourself. Now, I didn't put you on the drug, so I'm not taking you off, but I'm telling you what I would do. Okay? So, and then we talk about saturated fats. The saturated fats get a bad rap by using butter and different things like that, but actually the research shows opposite, that the grass-fed butter actually helps the brain, helps the system. And so that's what we want to make sure that we're focused on. Yeah, Dr. Stephen Sinatra, okay? So he focused on the evils of sugar and carbs and the blood sugar that's going to affect your cholesterol. So look up Dr. Stephen Sinatra. He's the cardiologist, and it's the consumption of sugar. I know a lot of times you're like, it's the salt, I got to decrease my salt. Well, use Himalayan salt. Definitely decrease your salt. Don't use too much, but it's the sugar too. And I keep telling my family, it's the sugar. Y'all want to put sugar in everything, okay? So remove that out. Okay, so we do the 5 essentials. That's how we would be able to get that healing. We look at the omegas also. Fibromyalgia, bipolar. Your omegas, take these things. It's going to decrease your chances of that, okay? Alzheimer's, okay? This is the studies that show that Alzheimer's starts reversing dementia from fibromyalgia by just taking your omegas. You were deficient. So D3, omegas, multivitamin, B complex, magnesium. You have to be on these supplements. These are just basic supplements to help your body work. But this is really going to help you to stop dementia. And so we look at the Costco brand versus our Pure Path, Max Living, omegas. So the Costco brand, we're looking at the levels of the EPA and the DHA. So when you look at, when we look at omegas from Costco, it's 300. They have 300 milligrams of the 300 milligrams of the EPA and DHA. We are at 900, okay? So you're getting more bang for your buck, and it is grass-fed, and it's home food, and it's source correct. So this is what we want to do. You're not saving money by going to get the cheaper one. It's going to cause damage, okay? So your sleep apnea, risk for blood pressure issues by not getting oxygen to your body, stroke issues, irregular heartbeat, all these different things. So again, sleep apnea causes dementia. So you have to get in your deep sleep. If you don't get in your deep sleep, that's going to cause sleep apnea, and it causes your brain to start to shrink. So that's what we want to do. You get that metabolic waste, it starts to clear. You have all the waste of the day. Your brain has waste, calcium deposits, all those different things. So when you're in your deep sleep, it starts to work in your cerebral spinal fluid and flush that out. But if you never get into your deep sleep, it starts to create deposits into your brain. Instead of you flushing it out, that's what also causes dementia and causes a lot of brain disorders. So you have to get into deep sleep, okay? All right, then you have the trigeminal nerve. This trigeminal nerve comes down and it goes into your eyes, it goes into your nose, all these different things. When this area is being compressed, when you don't have this brain stem and the spinal cord working like it's supposed to, it chokes off the nerve. And if you do that for a consistent amount of time, you're gonna have the brain fog. You're gonna have, your system is not working. We wanna make sure those cells are working, okay? So, we look at the root cause of Alzheimer's and dementia: low brain energy, chronic inflammation, poor blood supply. This is what happens. All this can be fixed by getting your adjustments, by doing your red light, doing your infrared sauna. So the brain loses energy and it loses circulation. Now red light, when you take the red light, it's gonna increase your brain energy. ATP, that's the energy powerhouse, is the battery. It's like charging up your battery, okay? But the blood supply to the brain is gonna help with memory, focus, inflammation. I'm telling you, once I started taking this, my brain started to calm down. I was able to sleep through the night. I was able to de-stress. I was able to be more focused and more intentional, because it really helped my ADD. I mean, like, to the max. So I'm telling you, red light is gonna calm you down so much. Sometimes I couldn't even go home and cook. I was like, what am I about to do? Like, it's deregulating me so much. I was just looking at I went to the grocery store and I was like, you know what? My body's saying go to sleep at this point, and this is what I'm gonna do tonight. You know? So, yes. So there's different frequencies. So, we look at, so ours hit all of these different frequencies. Level 1 wakes up the cells. So when you're at 600 nanometers to 660, it's gonna wake up the cells. When you're in 800, that's when you get that deep brain repair. So like stroke victims, so essential for repairing the damage from stroke, the Alzheimer's, for infrared sauna too. The research on Alzheimer's and dementia, by doing that 3 to 4 times a week, you gotta be consistent. Red light and an infrared sauna really helps with dementia, Alzheimer's, all the research shows. And then removing that plaque from the brain from you not being in deep sleep, level 3, okay? And ours hit all 3, okay? So I'm telling you, you're in good hands when you come in here, repairing your brain. This is the charging your brain battery, okay? So we turn the power on, and then you charge the battery up, okay? We gotta turn the phone on with the adjustment, and then you keep that plugged up, the charging in. That's when the red light takes it to the next level in the infrared sauna, okay? Because people are like, well, red light circulation. Well, infrared sauna is gonna do more of the circulation and detox. Okay, so that's what we want to do, is to increase the circulation to the brain. It's also going to detox by sweating. Okay, it helps the cells repair, the heart-brain connection, especially to the cardiovascular one here. We have one for that. We have the detox one. And then also frequency lowers the dementia. Lowers dementia. There's so much research on it. Lower dementia for both of them. I mean, adjustments lower dementia, all these different things that we do hack the brain. Like, we're a nervous system doctor, so everything that I do helps to regulate the nervous system and help the brain heal. But the research just shows that that's what it does, okay? So, red light 4 to 5 times a week. That's what you need to do to really rewire those brain sauna. Nervous system 2 to 3 times a week. These are what we need to do to keep everything healing. Okay? What about chiropractic? Y'all wonder, like, does chiropractic really work for this? And I just came here because I feel better. But what's really happening deeper down inside? Well, this is the research from PubMed talking about that the functional MRI shows that the brain activity after the adjustment, stop pain and cognition, also help your decision making. So your decision making, cognitive stress is gone, emotional regulation, also have your nerve signals to fire better, okay? So it's not just about back pain, it's about processing your nerve supply, okay? Motor input. Your motor is a part of your brain. Okay, so you want your motor, it's like, and you also have your brain input, you have your autonomic nervous system, you have the motor. So the motor is so that you can have coordination and make these arms and joints move, but you gotta make sure that that's working. But it also helps stroke victims. Like, the adjustment has been proven to help increase the motor of stroke victims by 65%, that they get the motor back in their arms. That it normally goes it goes a week. How many stroke patients have we seen after 1 or 2 adjustments get off the table, start walking? Like, it's amazing. That happened to my stepdad. His arms was able to work and kick up. The neurosurgeons was like, what did just happen? And I just flew down to adjust him and went home, and but he was very medically minded, so he didn't want to continue that. But I'm like, oh my God, like, your But you know, some people you can't help. You can only help who want to be helped. Neuroplasticity. So you have neuroplasticity is the patterns that your body's like, I do it this way. Your body likes patterns. And so this neuroplasticity makes it hard for your nervous system to be rewired. That's why you're just like, I'm just stuck in my ways. That's neuroplasticity, okay? So you can get rewired by getting your adjustments stop being in your way. You have to actually put some effort in there too. But it helps to help you rewire. So experiences, your memory, your brain adaptability, all these different things. So it decreases the inflammation markers too. Like stops inflammation, the adjustment does, okay? So these are things that's gonna help your brain. You're not here. When you feel that feeling come on from the adjustment, this is what's happening, okay? Dr. Hyde, she did all of the brain work. She is a chiropractor, but she's done all the studies. She wanted to prove all the activity, and her work has been published across the nation. And it is just showing how it just resets the brain, the body, helps the brain grow, all of those different things, helps it develop and move. So we want to make sure we have the proper two. So when we do those upper adjustment, so C1 and C2 occiput C1 and C2, when we adjust those areas, it helps with the spinal cord tension, the vetting drainage, the arterial supply, cerebral spinal fluid, balance, stress, pain, and altered function. That's what we're doing with every adjustment. And all of you guys are locked up there. You may not have a pelvis adjustment, but that C1 and occiput, we're blocked every time. So every time, we're helping your vein strength. We're helping the arterial flow go back. We're helping the brain start to wake up again. We help the cerebral spinal fluid flush out those calcium deposits, Belinda. It helps pain go away. It helps the arteries. It helps your balance, okay? We just think about Mr. Mario. He was screaming and hollering with his very first adjustments, okay? His strong dementia. But guess what? It's reversing, and he's like coming in here. He knows where his wife doesn't have to come here anymore. His brain is just functioning and restoring. That is what we do in here. We reverse a lot of dementia, a lot of schizophrenic people. Start to see their brain change. Demonic oppression too. But I won't go there with this talk. But yes, okay, we help with all of that. We do see it come off in here, Yeah. Because one of my patients, his name is Chris. I have a lot of Chris's, so y'all might not know who it is. But he was saying, I was like, "How your body's healing?" And I was like, "We love you, Chris. Thank you for coming in today." And he told me that he was about to go home and commit suicide because he was living in his car. And so when I told him that, he decided to live. And he's been still coming in and living ever since then because of that. And he also said that he does not hear the demons telling him to kill himself anymore when he gets his adjustments. Praise God. And he'll tell me that if they're really talking to me today, they're telling me to kill myself. And I adjust them and I'm like, are they still talking? I don't hear them right now. It's like, okay. That's the power that we work with. That's the lives that we change. And that's why one more, because what if we didn't reach him in the vitamin shop that day, or the family health mart, or at the events, the festivals that we do, because people know, and people are dying. And I love that you guys are here so that we can get that information and take it to the next level, okay? And got some more research about the plaque in the brain, cerebral spinal fluid, headaches, sleep issues, sinus, numbness, acid reflux. These are just the check engine lights that the cerebral spinal fluid is not flowing. So I do that last adjustment. When I do that quick, this is the cerebral spinal fluid adjustment. This is so I can get it flowing. And you're like, oh, you felt kind of a little bit drunk afterwards. It's because that cerebral spinal fluid is flowing from the brain all the way down. And it starts to flush all those things out. And then it's gonna move the headaches, the sinus, and all of that. It just removes all that tension that was on the spinal cord. But the fluid starts to get what it needs to do to help remove dementia and help stop Alzheimer's and help your brain repair. And I've also seen some patients that seen the demyelination, or even the MS patients, their MS starts to reverse in here. We can help with these neurodegenerative disorders. That's what we do in here. We don't want to look at every condition. What we want to do is look at the system that's controlling every condition and free that so that every condition can start to get to the ceiling of your health. Your ceiling is different than Carla's man. Roberto, your ceiling of health could be right here, could be right here, could be right here. I don't know that. But every time I get an adjustment, every time you make a healthy choice, it gets you to your ceiling. And that's your health potential that we're working with to get you to your God-given health potential so you can be restored. And so that is what we're doing. So you gotta make sure that you got the tools to keep the brain octane. So make sure that you get we have the memory supplement. We talked about the omega. The omega is going to open up the brain. It's going to be able to stop the degenerative dementia. The memory helps with the support, with the inflammation in the brain, all those different things. Adrenal balance, that's what has the ashwagandha in it. That's what also has the rhodiola in it. That's going to stop the stress in the brain and adapt to the stress and help you focus and stop that fatigue. That is so important. Also, it helps lose weight because it helps to decrease the cortisol levels that's in the belly, but it also helps to balance out your brain. Okay? Now, if you want to do the dopa boost, that's going to really help more with the procrastination and to take action. So, if you're already good with that, you don't want that dopamine to get you to that next level to make you take action, then you don't have to. You can use that's the power brain bundle, but the basic brain bundle doesn't have the dopamine. Okay, and then we also have a limited red light and infrared sauna and that health book with the 5 essentials so that you can get the food, nutrition, the exercise, the detox, the moving out the bathroom products and soaps and lotions to keep you what you need to do. So just tell us which bundle you want to get, and you can do an add-on. So the bundles are 20% off. Everything else is 10%. But if you buy, if you do buy the bundles, then you get any of the other ones for 20% off too. Okay? So we are having everything you need. Do you have any questions on what we went over? Do you feel like you know how to keep your brain healthy and what are the basic things we need to do to keep you moving in the right direction? Okay. Well, Dr. Nadia and Dr. Rachel will be at the front. And then if we have any guests in here today, so get your nervous system. Make sure you get your family in here, get them checked. What is our next workshop, Dr. Rachel?
Women's wine.
Oh, we have our Women's Wine and Wellness coming up. So we're going to be talking about women's hormones, sexual health. That's coming up on May 14th, on Thursday night at 7. So get signed up for that. And their Teacher Appreciation Week, so all the teachers, you can come in and they get